Hey everyone, hope you're doing okay. Thought I'd make a quick video to explain a little bit how to do data assignment one, just in case we didn't quite get it all done in class. So you can follow along here and hopefully get caught up. So the first thing that we are going to be doing, so in data assignment one, we are going over how to import data into PSPP. And like I mentioned in the book, this was one of the first tasks I had to do in my job interview, and I didn't know how to do it. So, despite all of my academic training, I never once learned how to take raw data and put it into a statistical software like PSPP or SPSS. So, you're not going to be like me. We're going to have a better idea of what to do. Sorry, that was the old assignment. Let's do the current one. There it is. All right, so this should be the assignment that you see. So data assignment number one. And here in this box here, we have raw data. So we have information on 25 different individuals for a wizarding school, person one, two, three, four, five. And we can also see different characteristics. So we have information on their sex, their age, the house that they belong to, and their wizard GPA. So what we need to do here is take this data and put it into an Excel spreadsheet. So I have a spreadsheet up in here. I'm going to try to share both things at once so you can see what we're going to be doing. So in an Excel spreadsheet, or just a spreadsheet in general, a lot of data is structured using this format, using a spreadsheet. So what we're going to see here is that the first row in each column, we're going to put our variables. Okay, so here in number one, we're going to put person because that is actually a variable. We want to be able to trace back, right, our data set for each person to, like, imagine if this was a questionnaire. We want to be able to know who the person represents or what row the person represents. So we have person, we have the variable sex, we have age, we have house, and we have GPA. Okay, now below that, this is where we're going to input our data. So on line two, this is actually going to be person one. So we'll put in the data point. So it'd be one for person, right? Because our person one. And then for sex, we're not going to put in male because PSPP is a big calculator. It can't read, right? It can only look at numbers. So we're going to put one because we know that represents male. Now for age, we're going to leave it blank because we don't have their age. It's NA. And then for house, we're going to put in the number 4 because that represents sneaky snake. And then GPA is 1.5. All right. Now, if you are following along for the first time here, hopefully you get to this point, and I thought we'd have a little race. So we're going to see who can input the data, and we'll make sure it's accurate, okay? So once you're all set, right, ready, go. So we got 2. Oh man, I'm already going slow. Hopefully this is giving you a headset or a head start. My goodness. I might have to restart the video. This is embarrassing. So I am using the tab button. So in Excel, if you use Tab, it'll go to the next column over. If you hit Enter, it'll take it down to the next line. So I'm using Tab and Enter here. We don't have information on that person's GPA, so we'll just skip that one. Ooh, almost messed up there at the end. Sweet, okay, done. That was so slow. I'm really embarrassed by my speed there. I didn't actually practice this before making the video. I should have done that so I could have really schooled you. Anyway, so we have our data here, and I'm going to do just a quick spot check like on the GPAs. So 1.5, 2.3. Oh, dear me. I missed person 3. Look at that. So we got 3, person 3, 117 to 3.5. That's embarrassing, but that's why you spot check it, right? I'm looking at the GPAs, 2.9, 3.6, 4, 2.7, 2.5, 3.2, 2, 2.7, 1.3, 2.2, missing 3.4, 3.53, 2.9, 3.8, 3.9, 3.4, 3.2, 3.3, 2.7. Okay, sweet. Nice. So we have our data now. Now we're going to import this into PSPP. And this is available like this section in the textbook on page 9 on the section on importing data. It actually goes through this step by step. So now that we have our data in Excel file, we have to save it as a CSV file. So I'm going to go here to File, Save As, and we'll browse. I'm going to put it just like in my desktop. And I'm going to call it Wizard Data. And make sure, this is really important, that you save it as a CSV file. CSV is old school spreadsheet formats. It's not proprietary, so anyone can use it. So open source software like PSPP, they rely on that kind of stuff. If you had SPSS, you could just have an Excel file, but here we need to save it as a CSV. So we'll save it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to open up PSPP and we're going to import it. So we'll go to File, New, File, Import, Import Data. We'll see a window that looks like this. Make sure to go to your desktop or wherever you have it to find the data set. Sometimes you have to hit this like modified button to find it. So there's my wizard data in my desktop. And then I'm going to click Next. Okay. Maybe I will zoom in here real quick. That might make it a little easier for you to see. I'll make this a little smaller. All right. So we want to tell it to import all cases. You do have the option to tell it to like import only a select couple or like the first couple cases. Don't worry about that. Just hit all cases and then hit next. And this is probably the most important part of this process, why we can't just hit finish at the beginning. We need to tell PSPP what line of data has our variable names. So remember in our spreadsheet, row 1, it has our variable names. That's not actual data. So we need to click on line 2 here and make sure this is checked where it says line above selected line contains variable names. So this is telling PSPP that line 1 doesn't have data, but it has variable names. And then we could go through all the other steps with next, but you know what? Just hit finish. And this is going to show us a little bit of our data. So here we have our data in variable view and data in data preview. Now on this step, let's fix something. Notice here on GPA, it's rounding up. It's not giving us the decimals. So let's change that. So on GPA here, so it'd be a variable 5 on decimal, go ahead and click the plus sign. And now you can see we got our decimals down here. And once you have that, go ahead and click apply. Okay, I'm going to turn off the magnifier real quick. And we have our data set. Let's do the other part of the assignment. So if you're on the assignment, now we'll get into the part where we get to run some analyses. Or let's clean it up first, sorry. So we're going to add some variable names and variable and value labels. Variable labels and value labels. Okay. So we have our data, we have our variable names, person, sex, age, house, and GPA. Let's add some variable labels to help us remember what it is. So here under label, I'm just going to write something like respondent ID. So that way I remember that, oh, this is the respondent ID number. Sex, I'm going to put biological sex. Age of the respondent. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's always nice to put in. House, this is their wizard house. And then GPA, this is their wizard GPA. And you can write whatever you want here. Okay, so we have our variable labels. Now let's put in our value labels. This is where we tell PSPP what the numbers represent in the variable. Now with person, we're not going to add value labels because that would be redundant. That'd be us like saying value 1 is 1, right? Where like 1 is 1. That makes no sense. We don't need to do that. So we're not going to add value labels here. But under sex, we do need them. So with sex, value 1 represents male, and value 2 represents female. We don't need to do anything with age because the numbers represent the thing that it represents, right? If you're 13, you're coded as the 13. But with house, we do need to put them in. So here with house, and that's why it's important we have our code book or know what the numbers represent. So 1, this is going to be lion roar. 2, this is bad badger. 3, this is going to be eagle claws. And 4, that is our sneaky snake house. Sneaky snake. And then you click OK. And this will be nice because now when we run our analyses, we'll be able to see what group we're talking about. A cool thing, if you go here to data view, see how it looks just like our Excel spreadsheet, right? We have our row, we have our variables in the columns. But the cool thing here in PSPP is we can click this label button, and it shows us what the labels are for the numbers. So if we forget, we can come here and we can actually toggle this and be able to see it. All right. So we've cleaned up our data. Now we are ready to do some analysis. So we're going to work on table 1 here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here to analyze descriptive statistics and frequencies. And I don't know why it looks scary like that, but we're going to put in biological sex, age of the respondent, wizard house, and wizard GPA. And notice here when we put in the list, it switches it to the variable name. Now, there's nothing really we need to change down here, so let's just go ahead and click OK. Then what happens? It looks like nothing's happening, but something did happen. If we were to scroll down to the bottom of the screen, it's kind of hard with the magnifier, but we come over here, see we got a screen flashing, and we have our output window. So whenever you run an analysis in PSPP, it's going to spit it into a different window. All right, so let's walk through what we have here. So this first box here, where it says statistics, this is just some general information on our variables. So it tells us what our valid N is. Notice here for age and GPA, it's 24 instead of 25. Remember how we had missing data? That's what that is, right? We have one person missing here on their age and one person missing with their GPA. Now, we also get the mean for all the variables. So for average sex, it's a 1.52. Does that make any sense? It doesn't, right? You can't have an average sex. It's not numerical. But you can have an average age and an average GPA. Those do make sense. So for things like sex and house, instead of averages, we need percents. So that's why we can come down here to like biological sex, and we can see the distribution of the sex ratio in our data. So 48% of our sample is male, 52% is female. And on your assignment, that is what you'd be putting in under where it has the percent. Okay, now for age, we don't want to put in the percents, right? We want to put in the average. So we're going to find that up here. So with age of respondent, the average age of our data set, it's 14.33. That's what we would put in to table 1, where it says age mean. And then for the sample size, the N, right of it, we'd put in 24, right? Because we are missing one person. Okay, so we could come down here to the wizard houses, and we have information on the percent of the sample and, what percent belong to what house. So for sneaky snake, right, that'd be 28%. Bad badger, it's 20%. Lion roar, 24%. Eagle claw, 28%. And we have our frequency counts too. And then for GPA, we have our frequency table here, but this isn't so useful to us. I mean, we have like one person had a 1.5, right? So instead of using the frequencies and the percents, we need the averages. So that would be up here. So we have, up here. So the average GPA, 2.98. All right. Now on question 6, where it says, write a paragraph reporting the results of the table, I want you to talk just about the percents and the ends. Now, don't focus too much on the ends because this is the sample that we're using to talk about the population. Now, it's really small, but that's because I didn't want you to put in like 100, 200 people into a data set, right? That's why it's capped at 25. So, for example, with sex, if I was writing it up, I'd say in our sample, approximately, or I don't think you have to say approximately, I would say 48% of the sample is male, 52% is female. And that's what you'd have to put. And then for the next one, average age among our respondents is 14.33. That's the kind of stuff that I want you to put down. No interpretation, just writing it. All right. So that is table 1. You should be able to fill out everything else on that. Now we got to work on table 2 or figure 1. Sorry. Now we're going to be working on a graph. And you're going to use an interesting tool. You're going to learn more about this next time. But here you are going to split your data. So what this does is it produces a output for each group that we tell it to split by. So what you're going to do here, you're going to come here to PSPP and see this like split button where it looks like 2 data sets. So that's the button for split, or you can come here to data split file. So click split. Right. And we are going to tell it to organize our output. We're splitting it by house. So put house in there, groups based on house, and you'll learn more about like what compare groups means or organize output. For our intents and purposes right now, keep it on organize output by group and then click OK. Okay, now nothing happened, right? And if we were to open up our output, it doesn't show anything happened. All it says is splits now on. That's because remember, our output is like a printed receipt. Stuff that we change doesn't automatically change our output because it's written in stone, I guess. So in order to use split now, we have to go back to PSPP and we have to go to analyze descriptive frequencies and rerun our frequencies. And let me show you what we need here. All right. So for your graph, you need to know what the average GPA is for each house. So the cool thing with split, see how it says like split values? So here we have lion roar, right? And it's just like the other output screen we saw, but now everything is just for people in that house. So we can find the average GPA, 3.27, and that is the value that we report on the graph. So we need to draw a bar, right? That is approximately 3.27. The next wizard house, Bad Badger. Let's see, is it Bad Badger or skip one? Yep, so Bad Badger. Their average is 2.86. So you'd need to draw an approximation of that, right, as a bar. And then down here with Eagle Claws, their average is a 3.38. And then for Sneaky Snake, 2.47. Oof, they're kind of struggling. All right, now when you do your graph, put in the bars, but also put in the ends. So for Sneaky Snake, how many people do we have? 7. So where it says N under Sneaky Snake, that's what you would put. All right. Well, that is everything that you need to know in order to do this assignment. So it's going to feel overwhelming. It's going to feel hard. And what's going to be really funny is at the end of the semester, you're going to look at this assignment and be like, that was so easy. So don't get discouraged. Okay. All this stuff, you're going to be using it a lot and you're going to get really good with it. And by the end, you're just going to be doing this like in your sleep. All right. So everyone hang in there. You're going to be okay. And I will see you all later.